A reading from Women Who Run with the Wolves by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I come to stories as a cantadora, keeper of the old stories. I come from a long line of tellers, mesemonduk, old Hungarian women who might as easily tell while sitting on wooden chairs with their plastic pocketbooks on their laps, their knees apart, their skirts touching the ground, or while wringing the neck of a chicken. And cuentistas, old Latina women who stand robust of breast, hips wide, and cry out the story, ranchera style. Both clans storytell in the plain voice of women who have lived, blood and babies, bread and bones. For us, story is a medicine which strengthens and arights the individual and the community. I once dreamt I was telling stories and felt someone patting my foot in encouragement. I looked down and saw that I was standing on the shoulders of an old woman who was steadying my ankles and smiling up at me. I said to her, No, come stand on my shoulders, for you are old and I am young. No, she insisted. This is the way it is supposed to be. I saw that she stood on the shoulders of a woman far older than she, who stood on the shoulders of a woman even older, who stood on the shoulders of a woman in robes, who stood on the shoulders of another soul, who stood on the shoulders. I believed the old dream woman about the way it was supposed to be. The nurture for telling stories comes from the might and endowments of my people who have gone before me. In my experience, the telling moment of the story draws its power from a towering column of humanity, joined one to another across time and space, elaborately dressed in the rags and robes or nakedness of their time, and filled to the bursting with life still being lived. If there is a single source of story and the noumen of story, this long chain of humans is it. This is a book of women's stories held out as markers along the path. They are for you to read and contemplate in order to assist you toward your own natural one freedom, your caring for self, animals, earth, children, sisters, lovers, and men. I'll tell you right now, the doors to the world of the wild self, the true self, are few but precious. If you have a deep scar, that is a door. If you have an old story, that is a door. If you love the sky and the water so much you almost cannot bear it, that is a door. If you yearn for a deeper life, a full life, that too is a door. Amen. This week has been heavy. We lost a woman of faith last week, and we found ourselves in the midst of very raw grief and communal tension. The readings, the Bible readings of this week were ones that offer care and hope in the divine. There's one of the disciple Tabitha or Dorcas in Acts 9, I believe it was. First, the fact that she was a female disciple, and second, that she was raised from the dead by Peter. This was a story of care and hope. And then there was a passage in Revelation saying how they will hunger no more and thirst no more. The sun will not strike them, nor any scorching heat. That is a passage of care and hope. There was Psalm 23, which is a passage of care and hope in the midst of darkness and weight and unknown. And then there was John 10, where Jesus says, My sheep will know my voice, again referencing Psalm 23. These are all passages of care and hope, which we need, which are vital. And I started with this reading from Women Who Run with the Wolves, because it was a passage that described the meaning to all these stories, the root, the reason we return to these stories. It also points to the hope in these holy stories of our religious traditions and the holy stories of our lives. Even as loss overwhelms us, even as we lose people and find ourselves in the midst of tension, I wanted to offer this starting point because it points to the root of the story, the place we find our truest self, the reason we read these stories at all. They are doors to our most true and wild self, our most divine, reflective self. We are tired people. We are searching. We are a people searching for the fullness of life as it encompasses and includes everyone else, leaves no one behind, isolated, or without the ability to join us should they choose. We are searching for these stories, for this hope. We are looking for rebirth and freedom. We are looking for an innate wildness that connects us back to the divine. We are hungry for the sustenance which satisfies the longing of our souls. That is why we read these stories. That is where we find hope in these stories. We are bearers of this longing and bearers also of its fulfillment. We are not creator ourselves, but we are a majestic reflection of dimensions and colors and expressions of the divine, which have been unseen until now, until you, until your very life was here. We are the bridge and the tower, the stronghold and the flowing river. We are the open arms and the thundering storms. We are starved for the tender care of divinity, the wildness of her freedom, the story of her forests, and the rest of her embrace. That is what we seek in these stories. That is what we seek in the lives and community with one another. This week's lectionary readings offered hope toward fullness and care and resurrection, but today I am tired. Today I am weary. Today I am yet still hopeful that the fervent and excited disciple in me will be raised, is still alive, is in fact a woman, a person and warrior of humility, hope, and justice, is a person ready to be raised to new life, freed and whole and willing and ready to carry the dream of justice with the company of the saints. I pray that I am ready even as I am weary. These stories, this passage in this book remind us that we stand on the shoulders of people who come before, patting us on the foot, encouraging us in hope. That we are not telling stories just for the sake of being heard. We are telling stories for the sake of connecting to something that cannot be touched by the consumerism, by the heaviness, by the tragedy of this world. People gone and people present. We span across time and space to tell a story of our becoming, of our belonging. Today I am weary, but today I am hopeful. And so I wanted to start by reading this passage from Clarissa Pinkola Estes about the power of story, the reason we return to it, the wildness and truth that it opens us to, the doors that we find. Friends, I pray that you find a door this week to your own truth, your own wildness, the divinity reflected only in your story that can only be found in you. I pray, I hope I make space for the weight that we are all holding. I pray I make space for the tension that we are all holding between each other amidst our differences. I pray for grace. I pray for rest. I pray for a holy healing, a holy raising. And this is a short reflection. I'm going to end by reading Psalm 23 from the lectionary this week. And I'm going to offer an alternate translation with expansive word definitions from the Hebrew words that I found and looked up, and offering the divine in this passage as a feminine entity, since we know the masculine is readily found everywhere. So here it is, to end this reflection and to start your week. I pray this over all of us. Psalm 23. The self-existent, the capital E eternal, is my guide. I shall not want. She makes me lie down in green pastures. She leads me beside still waters. She restores my soul. She leads me in life's paths for the purpose of her presence. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, the heaviest valley, the most unknown valleys, I fear no evil. For you are with me. Your company and your support, they comfort me. You prepare a meal before me in the presence of those, even of those who distress me. You prepare a meal for me. You anoint my head with oil, fruitful and richness. My cup overflows. I am satisfied, filled, and whole. Surely, please, Lord, surely beauty and kindness shall follow me, shall follow us all the days of our life, and we shall dwell in the house of the eternal forever. Go in peace.